When Perry Stone went public with his startling statement about Joni Lamb, what many assumed would be just another ministry update instantly turned into a storm that rattled the Christian world. Known for decades as a prophetic voice who often warned about things before they happened, Stone has always been a figure that believers listened to carefully. But this time, his words didn't carry the usual encouragement or revivalist hope. Instead, he shifted his focus toward Joni Lamb, one of the most recognizable figures in Christian broadcasting, and what he revealed left people stunned. In a calm but firm tone during a livestream that quickly went viral, he accused her of using her influence at Daystar not simply to guide programming but to manipulate the overall direction of Christian media. He alleged that financial backing and support from Daystar often came with unspoken conditions, that preachers had to shape their messages to match Joni's vision. For many, hearing this was more than unsettling, and Stone's confession that even he had felt pressured added weight to the claim. He described the system not as simple leadership but as a form of control, a way of shaping the prophetic voice of the church for someone else's agenda. The reaction was explosive. Supporters praised him for finally saying aloud what others had whispered in private for years, while critics accused him of fueling division. Social media erupted with clips of his statement, and hashtags tied to both Stone and Lamb trended across platforms. Within hours, pastors, bloggers, and everyday believers were debating whether his words were courageous truth or reckless slander. For years, rumors about Joni's behind-the-scenes influence had floated quietly, dismissed as gossip. Now those whispers had become a public crisis. What shocked many was Stone's emotional tone. He wasn't shouting or sensationalizing. He sounded weary, like someone burdened by a truth he could no longer keep hidden. As the days passed, more voices began chiming in. Former employees and ministers who had once worked closely with Daystar shared stories that echoed Stone's claims. They described unspoken loyalty tests, decisions tied to financial leverage, and the quiet removal of those who didn't align with Joni's agenda. Some even alleged that whistleblowers were pressured into silence or settlements. Though much of this remains unproven, the consistency in the accounts fueled suspicion. The carefully crafted image of Joni as a warm, trustworthy figure on television now clashed with the growing perception of her as a power broker pulling strings in the shadows. The silence from Joni herself only deepened the speculation. While her name spread across headlines and her reputation came under fire, she offered no public response. What might have been intended as a strategic pause came across to many as avoidance. Each day without a statement was seen as confirmation that Stone's words carried some truth. Supporters began to waver, questioning whether the programs they had trusted for years were authentic ministry or controlled narratives. Churches and donors that had long partnered with Daystar grew hesitant, unsure whether to defend the network or quietly distance themselves. The backlash extended beyond Joni personally and began to shake the foundation of Daystar as an institution. Viewers who once saw it as a spiritual lifeline now looked at it with suspicion. Ratings reportedly dipped, donors questioned where their money was going, and advertisers worried about being linked to scandal. Inside the network, employees grew uncertain about their future, with some quietly preparing for the possibility that the empire they helped build could collapse. For a platform that once stood as a symbol of Christian broadcasting power, the fallout was devastating. At the heart of the outrage was not only the allegations themselves but the sense of betrayal. Families who had welcomed Joni into their homes through television now struggled to reconcile the trusted face they knew with the manipulative figure described by insiders. The scandal tapped into broader frustrations about the blending of money, influence, and ministry, reinforcing the idea that faith-based media had become more about business than the gospel. Social media debates intensified the polarization, with defenders standing firm but a much larger chorus demanding accountability and transparency. The consequences stretch beyond just one woman or one network. Perry Stone's statement has triggered a reckoning about who really controls the voices shaping Christian culture. Whether every detail is true almost doesn't matter anymore. In the court of public opinion, perception rules. And right now, the perception is that Joni Lamb's influence was far deeper and far more manipulative than many ever imagined. Even if she eventually comes forward with explanations or denials, the trust she once commanded has already cracked. For Daystar, the path forward is uncertain. Without rebuilding credibility, its golden age may already be over.